Discover the incredible journey of Jorge Paulo Lemann. How one man's vision built a life-changing dream. In the heart of a rusting American city, where the air was thick with the scent of hope, mixed with despair, Jorge Paulo Lemann stepped onto the cracked pavement of his neighborhood. The vibrant colors of the local markets provided a sharp contrast to the gray buildings surrounding him. He felt the weight of his family's dreams resting on his young shoulders, a burden that seemed heavier with each passing day. His parents, hard-working immigrants from Brazil, were relentless in their pursuit of a better life. They toiled under fluorescent lights at factories and restaurants, whispering tales of perseverance and the American dream into his ears. But since the financial crisis, their dreams seemed to fade like the colors of their neighborhood. Small businesses around them shuddered as the sounds of laughter from children playing in the streets grew quieter. Jorge's ambition flickered dimly, tangled with the threads of expectations and fears of disappointing his family. With tightness in his chest, he resolved to make a difference not just for himself, but for them. One afternoon, while wandering the bustling market, Jorge overheard snippets of conversation from elders who shared stories about brighter days, when the community thrived through collaboration and innovation. A retired entrepreneur named Luis caught his eye, his eyes sparkling as he recounted how they transformed dilapidated storefronts into lively businesses together. Jorge felt a spark ignite inside him. A vision began to form. Inspired, he envisioned revitalizing not just his own dreams, but the pulse of his entire community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as hope began to blossom, Jorge's plans faced an unexpected betrayal. A trusted friend betrayed him, sabotaging his efforts for the sake of personal gain. Heart racing, Jorge wrestled with feelings of anguish and panic. The community he sought to uplift seemed to unravel. Tension soared in his home as his father, a man of traditions, worried that Jorge's dreams were pulling them away from their roots. Standing at a crossroads, Jorge recognized the true essence of the American dream. It wasn't just about personal success. It was about unity, sacrifice, and the heart of a community that fought through adversity. He gathered his neighborhood, inviting them to believe in their collective power. As faces turned toward him, a mixture of skepticism and shimmering hope, he felt their heartbeat sync with his, a shared rhythm of resilience and courage. But chaos erupted once more when a confrontation threatened to unravel everything they began to build together. Would he choose family loyalty, or would he embrace the greater vision of hope he'd begun to weave? As he stood among his neighbors, he could almost hear their hearts whisper, without unity and trust, would the seeds of hope ever sprout? Jorge felt the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air, almost palpable. It clung to him like a shadow as he looked at the familiar faces of his neighbors, some filled with hope, others tinged with doubt. He could see them grappling with their own fears, the worries of survival surging to the forefront. Yet, somewhere deep within him, that spark of inspiration remained unextinguished. "Listen," he called out, his voice steady, "we have more power together than we do apart. This neighborhood is full of dreams that we can revive if we unite." The words hung in the air, drawing their attention. The woman stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly. "But what if it doesn't work? What if we fail again?" Her vulnerability resonated with many. He could see nods of agreement ripple through the crowd. "Failure is a part of this journey," he replied, glancing at Louise, who nodded in affirmation. "Every great success comes from taking risks and standing back up. We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for each other, for our children and their future." A murmur of encouragement stirred within the crowd, filling him with renewed determination. He felt their apprehensions start to lift like fog under the sun. It was a fragile moment, yet it held promise. The first threads of unity began to weave together. In the following days, Jorge and his neighbors met in small groups, brainstorming ideas that went beyond mere survival. They shared stories over coffee, laughter mingling with tears as they reminisced about the vibrant community they once had. They envisioned a neighborhood where each shop stood not just as a business, but as a symbol of resilience, a vibrant tapestry of culture and hope stitched together piece by piece. But there was still dissent. Those who remained skeptical began to voice their doubts more vocally. "You're dreaming, Jorge. These are just empty words," a man shouted during a meeting, causing the room to tense. Jorge's heart sank. The man was right. Dreamers often faced harsh realities. Stepping up to the man, Jorge tried to remain calm. "I know it sounds impossible, but impossible is just something that hasn't been done yet. Together, we can turn that dream into reality." His voice faltered slightly, but he pressed on. "Remember why we started. Let us not forget the power we hold when we stand together." The room fell silent. Skepticism sometimes felt like a heavy mantle, but it also sparked a determination to prove the naysayers wrong. Days turned into nights as plans unfolded. Together they painted storefronts, cleaned streets, and organized community events. Neighbors who once barely exchanged greetings now worked side by side, laughter filling the air as they restored their environment piece by piece. Jorge saw the spark of hope light up their spirits, a flicker catching fire. But, just as progress was happening, betrayal struck again, this time from a different source. A prominent business owner in the area, feeling threatened by their revival efforts, began to undermine them with whispers and lies. Tensions thickened, chipping away at the fragile bond they had built. Jorge's heart raced. Would they hold together this time, or would fear win again? As he stood at the edge of the neighborhood, watching people move in and out of shops that once seemed lifeless, he felt that same weight bearing down. The journey had just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. Could he protect what they had built despite the obstacles ahead? The sweat on his brow mingled with resolve. With one deep breath, he prepared to rally his community once more, knowing that the next challenge would either break them or solidify their unity. Would they be able to rise above the chaos and find the strength to continue? Or would the shadows of fear engulf their dreams again? Jorge stood before the crowd, heart thumping like a drum. Their faces reflected a mix of determination and fear, and he knew he had to push them further. "We can't do this without each other." Every brush of paint on those storefronts is a symbol, not just of business, but of who we are, a family. The murmurs grew louder. He saw the fire of resolve kindling in some eyes, but others remained darkened by doubt. They had been through so much already. Could they really stand united against this new threat? As dusk fell, the neighborhood took on a different ambience. The last rays of sunlight danced on the freshly painted storefronts, making them look almost alive. But shadows loomed, both literal and metaphorical, waiting just out of sight. Jorge felt this tight knot of worry where hope should thrive. He turned to Louise, who had been the quiet strength through their struggles. "What if we organize a community day? An event to celebrate our efforts, our resilience?" Jorge suggested. "We can showcase our businesses, share stories of how far we've come." Louise nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. "That could turn the tide. It will show everyone we're not backing down." The idea began to spread among them like wildfire. Excited chatter filled the air, and for a moment, it felt as if the weight had lifted. They set to work, with Jorge organizing meetings and delegating tasks. Neighbors volunteered for everything from music to food stalls. Young children crafted colorful signs proclaiming their love for the neighborhood, their laughter echoing against the walls they had just painted. This was hope, embodied in the simplest of actions. But deep down, unease twisted in Jorge's gut. He felt the weight of the wild community on his shoulders. Whispers of sabotage echoed in his mind. The prominent business owner's threats were an open secret now. What if their big day turned into a disappointment, an opportunity for critics to mock their efforts? He pushed those thoughts away, reminding himself of how far they had come. As the day of the event approached, anticipation crackled in the air. The streets were buzzing with activity, but fear still lurked at the edges. People were excited but cautious, What if they try to shut us down? Someone whispered as they hung streamers. Then we stand together, Jorge replied, his voice louder than the mumble of anxiety. We can't let fear dictate our actions. Remember our purpose. When the day finally arrived, the streets filled with life. Neighbors turned out in droves, their hearts racing with excitement and apprehension, but mostly hope. Children ran through the streets, their laughter intermingling with the echo of music. At the center of it all stood a stage where Jorge took the microphone. As he looked out at the smiling faces, he felt that familiar spark. This is our moment, he declared. Together, we are painting a new future, one brushstroke at a time. Cheers erupted, and yet the weight remained. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed the business owner watching from a distance, arms crossed, face as stormy as a brewing tempest. The tension gnawed at Jorge's heart. Would this day be a turning point or a flash in the pan? With each passing moment, the stakes grew higher. Victory or betrayal hung in the balance. Jorge swallowed hard, feeling the pressure rise. He had to give them hope, but what if it unraveled at the seams? As the event progressed, he realized that despite the chaos, this was their chance to stand tall. But when a loud crash shattered the festivities, he turned to see the stage collapse under unexpected weight, and his heart raced. What had gone wrong? Could they withstand this unforeseen storm together? Or was their newfound hope about to come crashing down? Jorge's breath hitched as he watched the stage topple, with splintering and beams creaking under the sudden strain. A collective gasp rose up from the crowd, shock freezing the laughter and music that had filled the air just moments before. For a heartbeat, time stood still as people processed what had just happened. Get the kids back, someone shouted, and instinct kicked in. Jorge was already moving, weaving through the crowd to reach the fallen structure, heart racing. People were scattering, glancing back at the wreckage with fear, but Jorge couldn't let panic reign. Help me, he called out, waving his arms to rally anyone nearby. Louise dashed over, eyes wide. What can we do? Make sure everyone is okay first, Jorge yelled. As their neighbors rushed toward the stage, he began to assess the damage. It looked worse than he had feared. Debris was everywhere. But amidst the chaos, he could see a little girl crying, separated from her parents. He dashed toward her. Hey, sweetie, it's okay, he said gently, kneeling down to her level. Can you tell me your name? Tina, she sniffled, wiping tears from her cheeks. Tina, that's a beautiful name. Your mom is over there, right? Let us go find her. Jorge took her hand and guided her through the crowd, relief flooding his heart when they spotted her mother rushing toward them. Thank you. Thank you. The woman cried, wrapping her arms around Tina. Jorge felt a warmth in his chest, knowing he had helped amid the chaos. But behind him, the murmurs of the crowd had shifted. The roof collapsed. Who's in charge? Is it safe to keep going? Jorge's heartbeat echoed in his ears as he turned to face the now uncertain crowd, fear tightening its grip. He raised his hands, trying to restore order. Listen, he shouted. We can't let this destroy all we've worked for. We're still standing here, together. But the echoes of doubt were louder. Some parents began to gather their children, eyeing the stage. What if this was intentional? Did someone sabotage it? Jorge's stomach sank. The very thought seemed implausible, yet anger ignited within him. He couldn't let fear win. No one is going to tear us apart. We've come too far for this. A few people nodded, but the uncertainty hung thick in the air. Then, an elderly woman stepped forward, her voice firm. If we stand together, we can rebuild, can't we? A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Hope against fear. Jorge felt a flicker reignite in his heart. Yes, we can make this a moment of strength, not defeat. We'll clean this up, make it better. Who's with me? He saw hands begin to rise, people nodding resolutely. That spark of unity was contagious. As they moved together, cleaning and rearranging, it felt as if the air had changed. What had started as a disaster was turning into a testament of resilience. Yet, as they worked, Jorge couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on them. He glanced over his shoulder to see the business owner still standing there, lurking like a specter, arms crossed tightly. What was brewing behind that cold facade? He had to confront this. The community had rallied, but the threat remained. As the gathering shifted from fear to determination, Jorge knew he had to prepare for the storm that awaited them. Foes don't linger without reason. Determined, he turned back to the crowd, heart pumping with renewed energy. We're not just a collection of shops, we're a family. Let us show them what we can build together. Just as the spirit began to rise again, a loud voice cut through, booming from the back of the crowd. This isn't over. Jorge, you think storming your way back after failure is victory? Jorge narrowed his eyes, feeling the heat of a new challenge. Was this truly the turning point, or an ominous sign of the battle yet to come? Jorge felt a chill run down his spine as the voice echoed through the crowd. He turned slowly to face the man behind the shout, eyes locking onto a face he recognized but didn't fully trust. It was Miguel, the business owner whose autocratic presence had always cast a shadow over their community events. Miguel's confidence was palpable as he strutted forward, perpetually dressed in the slick suits of a corporate executive. But now the discontent in his expression was unmistakable. Look around you, Jorge, Miguel continued, gesturing dramatically at the hastily scattered debris and the frightened faces of the onlookers. This isn't just a minor hiccup. This is proof that you don't know how to run a show, and we all can see it. The murmurs started again, anxiety creeping back into the crowd. But Jorge felt a fire ignite within him. No, Miguel, this is a chance for all of us to come together, to show we're more than just this festival or this stage. Chance? You think we can rebuild from this? You're delusional, Miguel scoffed, emphasizing his words like daggers. For a moment, the air felt heavy. The unity they had just found seemed to waver. Jorge's heart raced, but he knew he had to find a way to rally them once more. Look at everyone here, he shouted, voice rising above the noise. These people aren't just watching. They're ready to fight for this community, to fight for what we've built. We are more than an event or a mishap. A family, right? Miguel mocked, crossing his arms tighter. Families can fall apart, Jorge. And one misstep like this is all it takes. From the back of the crowd, an unexpected voice rang out. That's not true. We're all here because we believe in each other. It was Anna, an elderly woman who had run the local bakery for decades. We've overcome worse together. This is just another hurdle. Jorge felt a surge of gratitude towards her. Others began to shout their agreement, voices lifting over Miguel's. The tide was shifting again, the energy in the air crackling with determination. But Miguel remained defiant. You may convince them today, Jorge, but what about tomorrow? The moment this place starts to lose its charm, people will leave and you will be stuck with the ruins. Then let us prove you wrong. Jorge shot back. Let us invest in each other. We've got the passion, the community spirit, and we're not going away just because we hit a bump. As he spoke, Jorge noticed a flicker of doubt cross Miguel's features. Was he beginning to realize that his power was less significant than the bond they shared? Jorge pushed forward. Let us commit to this together, so no one feels abandoned. Let us show them who we are. One by one, neighbors began stepping closer, taking hands, forming a chain that enveloped the crowd, tighter and stronger than any framework Miguel could build. The air vibrated with murmurs and cheers, igniting the spark of solidarity once again. But just as the strength surged, Miguel's voice boomed out again. They can cheer all they want, Jorge. Just remember the moment a new festival plops itself into this town. All your dreams will come crashing down. What can you do then? Fear clawed at Jorge's mind even as hope battled back. What if he was right? Could they truly fend off someone like Miguel? Questions flared up. Doubts threatened to take hold. Yet, as Jorge surveyed the crowd, a renewed certainty washed over him. They were a family, so what would he do for them? That was the crux of it all, with every eye looking to him. He took a deep breath, whispering a silent promise to himself and to everyone around him. He would not back down. Not now. How about this? He shouted, We'll face whatever comes. Together. But as the crowd cheered and rallied around him, Jorge couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenge was still waiting just around the corner. And as the sun began to set, bathing everything in orange and gold, he realized that this was just the beginning of something so much bigger. But what other surprises were lurking just beyond the horizon? The shouts of encouragement swelled around Jorge, but it felt as if the weight of the world rested squarely on his shoulders. He could see the determination in the faces surrounding him, people coming together, each one wholeheartedly committed to overcoming the mess that had just unfolded. Yet, Miguel loomed large in his thoughts like a dark cloud, whispering doubts and fears. Together he repeated quietly to himself, wishing it could drown out the echoes of Miguel's voice. As the crowd cheered, Jorge felt an urge to build on the moment. "Let us talk about plans," he shouted over the din. "We can start by cleaning up this mess right now. Grab a broom. Help each other out, show that we won't let anything take our spirit away." Hands shot up, eager and shaking with adrenaline. People rushed to help, picking up debris and clearing the grounds. It was more than just tidying up. It was a symbol of their resolve. Jorge jumped into the fray, gathering shards of plastic and broken bits of decoration, a tangible reminder of what had just happened. The energy transformed as laughter returned to the faces around him. In the midst of the cleanup, Anna came by, wiping sweat from her brow. She said, adjusting her glasses, "This festival is just a reflection of the heart of our town. If we can rally like this over a bad night, imagine what we could do when things go well." The thought put a smile on Jorge's face. Right? The real festival is in our bond. We need to market that, make it the essence of our community, a space where we show up for one another. Just then, a younger couple joined the group, arms laden with supplies. "We brought water and snacks," one of them shouted, grinning from ear to ear. The moment was electric. People were starting to share ideas. "We could have a Surge of Volunteers campaign," someone called out. Another chimed in, "Or what about a community garden to bring everyone together?" The seeds of inspiration were sprouting, and Jorge felt a warmth fill him. He had always known this community was special, but in that moment, surrounded by laughter and creativity, he realized it was more than just the town square's festival. It was a deeper sense of belonging. However, amid this burgeoning enthusiasm, Miguel was watching from a distance, hands stuffed in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Jorge noticed Miguel's tense features, and uncertainty flickered through him again. Could he truly be countenanced? As the evening wore on, the glow of the sunset transformed into twinkling lights. It was beautiful and enchanting. Yet Jorge couldn't shake the feeling that while they were creating one revolution, Miguel was planning his own counterattack. In the midst of packing up the supplies, Anna placed a hand on Jorge's arm. "What are you thinking about, dear?" he sighed, taking in the scene around him. "What happens when tomorrow comes? Anna, what more will Miguel do to disrupt all of this?" She smiled knowingly. "You have a fire in you, Jorge. Don't let Miguel extinguish it. Remember, it takes one spark to light a whole path." Gratitude coursed through him. "I just want to protect us," he said quietly. "We'll protect each other. You just lead the way." Jorge nodded, determined, but he felt an itching for next steps brewing inside him. They couldn't just clean up and walk away. They needed a plan, a strategy for the future. As the last services were packed in and the crowd began to disperse, his heart raced at the thought of what was yet to come. The sky darkened, but uncertainty loomed larger. The vibrant energy they had built tonight was enough to fuel his ambition, but how would they sustain it? Drawing a deep breath, he called out, "We're not done here. Not even close. Let us meet again tomorrow. Let us make sure we're ready for anything. We're just getting started." And as the crowd cheered one last time, Jorge felt a stirring deep within. Wholehearted determination met an unquenchable hunger for change. What would tomorrow reveal in this fight for their community? Morning light broke through the clouds, casting golden beams onto the streets of their town. Jorge woke early, feeling the adrenaline from the night before still buzzing through him. The energy he witnessed while cleaning up the chaos filled his heart with hope. Today was a fresh canvas, and he was eager to paint a brighter picture with his community. He took a deep breath. "Let's do this," he whispered to himself, nerves mixing with excitement. As he stepped outside, he spotted familiar faces already gathering at the town square. It felt different today. An unspoken pact lingered in the air, a collective promise to not merely survive, but thrive. Jorge walked towards the center, where Anna was already setting up a makeshift table. "Morning," she called, her voice bubbling over with enthusiasm. "Good morning. Are we ready?" he asked, heart pounding but steady. "More than ready. I texted a few folks about our meeting. They should be here any minute." The anticipation in her eyes lit a fire in Jorge's chest. Slowly, the crowd began to form. People from all walks of life appeared. Each face was both familiar and new. A local baker, a retired schoolteacher, a group of teenagers. Everyone was there for the same reason: to stand up, to reimagine their community, and to support each other. "All right, everyone, thank you for coming." Jorge raised his hands, drawing whispers to a hush. "Last night showed us that we can pull together and overcome anything. Today we're not just cleaning up, we're planning for the future." His voice carried the weight of his commitment, a sound few could argue with. Someone in the crowd shouted, "What's our first step?" Jorge grinned, feeling more confident. "Let us brainstorm ways to keep this momentum going. What can we create together?" And just like that, ideas flew. They spoke of a neighborhood watch, a farmer's market, and even a new festival that could showcase local artists. With every suggestion, the energy grew, laughter and excitement reverberating back and forth like a wave washing over the crowd. "Imagine a mural on that old wall," a teenager chimed in, pointing to a faded, neglected structure nearby. "We could transform it into something beautiful." "Yes, yes." Jorge felt the rush of hope sweep through him, as if their collective dream was taking root right in that moment. A mural to symbolize our strength. But as they bounced ideas off one another, Jorge's gaze caught sight of Miguel slipping through the crowd. The once distant figure now felt uncomfortably close. His expression was stony, eyes surveying them like a predator sizing up prey. A knot formed in Jorge's stomach. He couldn't help but wonder what Miguel was thinking. Was he plotting how to tear them down? "Hey Jorge?" Anna's voice broke through his thoughts. "You okay? You look a bit pale." I can't shake the feeling that Miguel is up to something." "We need to stay focused," Jorge replied, trying to foster strength where doubt threatened to creep in. "Let us not give him power over us. We're stronger together, right?" "Absolutely." He nodded, but the uneasiness didn't leave him. As they continued developing ideas, Jorge felt the weight of Miguel's presence even more. It was as if shadows danced around the edges of their vibrant plans, threatening to snuff the light before it had even fully shined. "Let us take a moment for a ground rule," Jorge suggested, glancing around. "We all need to look out for one another. If anyone sees anything suspicious, anything that feels off, we're a team. We talk." A chorus of agreement erupted, filling the square with renewed resolve. Jorge couldn't help but feel a wave of relief wash over him. Yet, as he glanced back at Miguel, who had slipped away into a nearby alley, an unsettling thought struck him. What would happen when Miguel decided to take action? Would their emerging unity be enough? As the day wore on and excitement bubbled, Jorge realized that they were definitively at a crossroads. They had tossed around ideas, dreams, and visions for the future, but uncertainty continued to linger. What else was brewing just beneath the surface? With so much at stake, the feeling of urgency was palpable. "Let us meet again next week. Same time," he called out as they began to disperse, the atmosphere still buzzing with creativity. "Together we will defend this community." And as he walked home, a chill ran up his spine. Was defending their spirit enough to shield them from Miguel's influence? The shadows grew longer, and Jorge couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing just out of sight. What would tomorrow bring? Jorge awoke the next morning with the lingering taste of hope in his mouth, but the anxiety gnawed at him with a relentless hunger. He lay still in bed, staring at the ceiling, and felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. The thoughts of Miguel and the uncertainty that hovered like a dark cloud wouldn't let him rest. What would happen if Miguel struck while their spirits were high? As he finally swung his legs over the edge of the bed, he shook his head, trying to toss aside the dread. He had to push through. Today, he promised himself, would be about action, not fear. He showered quickly and dressed with purpose, pulling on a sturdy pair of shoes suitable for whatever the day might throw at him. With the sun shining bright and the streets alive with activity, he felt a flicker of that hope re-emerging. Maybe they could overcome any challenge together. The faces of his friends from the community danced in his mind like sunbeams illuminating a dark room, and he felt his heart quicken. But once he stepped outside, reality hit him like a wave. He was greeted by an eerie silence that contrasted sharply with the vibrant scene in his mind. The sound of children playing was absent, and even the wind seemed reluctant to disturb the stillness. Jorge walked towards the town square, a pit forming in his stomach. When he arrived, he noticed Anna standing by the table, her face paler than usual. She looked up and her expression spoke volumes. "Jorge," she started, but there was something in her voice that cut him to the quick. "What happened?" he pressed, dread pooling at the base of his throat. "It's Miguel. He did something last night." Anna's eyes were wide with alarm, and Jorge's heart sank further. "Did he hurt anyone?" "No, but he rallied the others. They're planning to confront us, to challenge what we're building here. They think we're a threat to the way things used to be." Her voice trembled, and the raw fear in her eyes mirrored the swirling anxiety in his chest. Jorge felt a surge of anger. How dare he? "We're not a threat. We're just trying to make our lives better." The urgency in his tone made Anna flinch. "I know, but they don't see it that way. They only see change. And change, it scares them." He began to pace, trying to keep himself steady. Miguel's influence could be poisonous, but what he ignited in them was a fire that couldn't easily be extinguished. "Then we have to show them that we're not a threat, but a part of this community. We need to stand together." "But how? What if they don't listen?" Anna's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, reflecting the weight of doubt that hung over them. "Then we speak louder," Jorge declared, emotions swelling within him. "We hold a gathering, a positive one. A place where we can share our plans and our hopes. We make it impossible for them to ignore our vision." He could see Anna's determination begin to shift. "And we need to do it today," she encouraged, "before they create any chaos of their own." Jorge nodded firmly. The urgency spurred him on. "Let us spread the word. Everyone needs to feel this bond both now and in the future. We will rally together, and we'll show them what we can do when united." As they began to call and message friends, the atmosphere shifted, a collective tension transforming into a feeling of purpose. But deep in his heart, Jorge could not shake the feeling that Miguel would not sit this one out. Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps broke through. A group of menacing figures rounding the corner of the square, their intentions clear. Jorge stood rooted in place, his breath catching in his throat. Was it too late to bridge the chasm that was beginning to form? The tension crackled like static in the air. "Now what?" Anna whispered, gripping Jorge's arm tightly. "What indeed?" As the group advanced, Jorge could feel the pulse of fear beneath the surface of his resolve. It was game time and he wouldn't back down. But would hope be enough to counter the darkness? As they drew closer, the first words broke through the silence. "What do you think you're doing here?" Confrontational and charged with discontent. Jorge steeled himself. "We're just getting started," but as he looked into the growing crowd, something deep within him whispered. This was just the beginning of a battle he had never anticipated. Would they stand together, or would Miguel's shadows engulf their light? The crowd closed in on Jorge and Anna, an uneasy energy buzzing between them. Jorge shifted his stance, grounding himself in the chaotic whirl of emotions around him. Fear descended, but he fought it back. This was not just about him anymore. It was about everyone in town who shared their vision for a better tomorrow. "Listen," Jorge called out, raising his voice to pierce through the tension. "We're not your enemy." His words rang out, shaky yet determined. He glanced at Anna, who nodded, her grip on his arm tightening as if to share his courage. A man at the front, tall and broad-shouldered with fierce eyes, stepped forward. You think you can just come here, change everything, and we're supposed to smile about it? Miguel's followers muttered in agreement, their expressions a mixture of anger and disbelief. We're not looking to change everything, Jorge replied honestly, keeping his voice steady. We're building something that benefits us all. A cleaner park, a community market, a place where we can come together. At the mention of the park, some in the crowd shifted, uncertainty creeping into their hardened expressions. Anna sensed it too. We all want what's best for our families, right? She added, her voice softer but filled with unwavering resolve. The town is a part of us. Change doesn't have to mean loss. Can mean growth. Their words created a flicker of hesitance, but Miguel's figure loomed large, like a storm cloud overshadowing the budding sun. He stood at the back, wearing a sardonic smile, his arms crossed. You think you can sell us this dream? It's just a pretty picture, and we know what pretty pictures can hide. Jorge took a deep breath, staving off the rising tide of hopelessness. He could feel the eyes of the crowd on him, searching for strength. What if we built that picture together? We could make it real. Every person in this town, our stories, our dreams, united. Isn't that what it's supposed to be about? A murmur rippled through the audience, hesitant yet curious. Jorge's heart raced. There was a glimmer of hope. He had to seize it. Join us for a gathering today. He pressed on passionately. Let us share what we envision. We want to listen to you, to everyone. Help bridge the gap between us. We are stronger together. Miguel stepped forward, anger radiating off him. You want to listen? All I see is a power grab, a way to try and push us out. You think we'll just stand by and watch you take what belongs to us? The tension snapped like a taut wire. Jorge could feel dread creeping back in, but he wasn't done yet. He locked eyes with Miguel, each word coming from a deep place in his heart. It doesn't belong to anyone. This is our home, and this home thrives when we all contribute. Fighting only destroys. The crowd stood still, the heat of anger and the coolness of reason battling for dominance. A woman stepped forward, her face lined with years of struggle. I just want what's best for my kids, she said, her voice shaking. But I'm scared of change. Jorge saw the fear reflecting from many faces, including Anna's. We're scared too, he said softly, letting the vulnerability in his voice seep through the darkness. But if we don't take this chance, nothing will ever change for the better. Together we can build something beautiful, a future we can believe in. With his heart pinned to the pulsing drum of hope, he looked at Anna, then back to the crowd, desperately wishing for unity to conquer division. As the silence stretched on, he couldn't help but feel the uncertainty settling like fog on a cold morning. Would they rise together, or would darkness claim the day? Then Miguel stepped forward, a determined look crossing his face. All right, let us hear it. Let us see what you're really offering. Jorge's heart leapt, but the shadow of doubt whispered warnings. A confrontation was unavoidable, but who would stand behind him in this moment? As the crowd shifted, Jorge knew this was merely the prelude, an opening act to a play that could end in flame or forge a new beginning. The stakes were higher than ever. Would they embrace the light he offered, or would darkness swallow them whole? The sun hung low in the sky, casting warm rays over the town square as the tension crackled like static electricity. Jorge stood firm, heart racing, but that spark of hope flickered again. Miguel had opened the door, and it was time to burst through. Today isn't about division, he declared, his voice cutting through the murmurs. It's about transformation. Together, we can build something that reflects our pride, our history, our dreams. One by one, people began to nod, faces turning from doubt to contemplation. He saw Anna shoot him a supportive smile, and he pushed forward. Let us come together to brainstorm real plans. Let us create pathways for discussion, for connection. The crowd shifted, a collective breath held, anxiety mingling with anticipation. And if you think I'm dreaming, then let us dream together, he implored, feeling the warmth of their shared reality beneath a growing unity. A young father stepped forward, his expression uncertain but open. What if we organized community workshops, teaching kids about business, about creating and preserving our culture? Exactly, shouted Jorge, the idea igniting more enthusiasm. Imagine muralists showcasing our heritage. We could host art fairs, music festivals. This is our chance. Just then, a voice broke through the din. What about the market, Jorge? Could we really cultivate something there? It was an elderly man. His head nodding eagerly, Jorge seized the opportunity. Hundreds of years ago, our ancestors built vibrant marketplaces. Why can't we rekindle that spirit? We're stronger as a community, exchanging ideas and resources. Another face in the crowd, a young woman, chimed in, perseverance etched across her brow. And what if we included everyone? A space for every voice to flourish? Yes, Jorge exclaimed, feeling the collective momentum surge. We can secure the future by empowering each other. Together, we'll plant the seeds of revival. Meanwhile, Miguel stood at the fringes, the storm within him brewing. The whispers from the crowd were gnawing at his authority, and with every passing moment, he felt the grip of control slipping. Just words, Jorge, Miguel bellowed. What makes you think they will follow a dream that ends in disappointment? Jorge turned towards him again, unwavering. Because dreams inspired by unity never go unfulfilled. This is our home. Together, our perseverance will bear fruit. The crowd erupted, voices lifting in support, each individual finding courage and strength within their community. They were no longer fragmented. This was a tapestry coming together, woven with shared aspirations and hopes. As Jorge observed the ebb and flow, he spotted a flicker of change in Miguel's expression. Doubt. Was it possible that he was feeling the power of collective compassion too? I challenge you, Jorge called out to Miguel, inviting him into their shared journey. Join us instead of fighting against. You could be instrumental in this transformation. For a moment, silence filled the air as all perspectives collided, nervous but eager eyes darting between them. Jorge could see curiosity simmering under the surface of disdain. Think about it, your legacy can be one of support, not division, Jorge urged gently. A leader fuels growth, not fear. The audience held their breath, waiting for a response. Miguel's jaw clenched, but beneath the steel facade, hesitation flickered. You don't have to do this alone. Anna chimed in, stepping beside Jorge. If you choose growth, we will support you. Together, we can revitalize this community. And amidst the intensity, something shifted. Jorge felt it, the awakening of potential igniting in the unlikeliest places. Maybe, just maybe, this could be a moment of redemption on both sides. Finally, Miguel took a step forward. The storm in his eyes debated uncertainty and reluctant intrigue etched across his brow. This isn't simple, Jorge. It's not just about ideas. It's about navigating change. Jorge released a breath he didn't know he was holding. It's not simple, but it's worth it. Let us make this a home for everyone. Together. A tentative nod from Miguel busted the dam of silence, and the crowd erupted into cheers. We can bridge the divide. One person shouted. Support churned in their hearts, a symphony resonating with possibility. In that moment, the shadows of doubt began to thin under radiant rays of possibility. The crowd gathered closer around Jorge, united, afraid to let the light slip away again. Make plans, share knowledge, express creativity. Jorge shouted, invigorated by every smiling face around him. Together, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, the rich colors painted the sky in strokes of gold and crimson. The darkness didn't stand a chance. They could feel it deep within, the spark of a new beginning ignited by community love and connection. That moment, in the heart of their town, Jorge knew this wasn't just their story. It was the dawn of something incredible. Let us embrace it, he thought, smiling. United, they would build a legacy that would transcend fear, a home where every dream would thrive, and every story would be heard. Jorge looked to the crowd, his heart full. Together, he proclaimed, voice steady. This is just the beginning. For all of us. And as the cheers swelled, the words echoed out into the streets. a proclamation of hope echoing into the night. Now is the moment for you to embrace this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next life-changing stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our narrative of hope and unity. Comment below your feelings about this incredible transformation, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message. You need to spread this positivity. And true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel. Let us illuminate hearts and inspire change together.